Something quiet is happening to your face. Not overnight, not from one bad habit. Something measured in millimeters per year, so gradual that the mirror never catches it in the act. But a photograph from 7 years ago will show it. The distance between your cheekbone and the corner of your mouth has changed. The midface, the architecture between your eyes and your upper lip, has shifted downward. And the origin of that shift is nowhere near your face. Reach behind you right now. Place your hand flat against your upper back, between your shoulder blades. Feel the tension gathered there. That knot of tightness, that rounded stiffness you carry through every hour of sitting, every evening on the couch, every morning hunched over coffee, that tension is connected to your cheekbones by a continuous sheet of tissue that has never once been interrupted from the day you were born. The tissue is called fascia, and in the upper back, it doesn't just wrap muscle. It forms an unbroken envelope that climbs the posterior neck, crosses the base of the skull, and feeds directly into the connective layer that suspends your midface in position. That layer, the SMAS, the superficial musculoaponeurotic system, is what plastic surgeons pull tight during a facelift. It is the scaffolding that holds your cheekbones, your nasolabial region, your entire midface exactly where genetics intended it to sit. When your upper back rounds forward, this envelope shortens from behind. The posterior pull increases. In the SMAS, the scaffolding gets dragged inferiorly, downward, slowly, over years. 2 minutes of releasing that upper back tension slackens the posterior chain. The scaffolding returns towards original position. The midface lifts. Not because muscles were exercised, not because skin was tightened, but because the structure that holds the face in place was freed from a pull that shouldn't have been there. That is what this release does. And that is why the upper back matters more to your face than any serum, roller, or exercise you could apply directly. Let me tell you what I've witnessed that made me certain of this. Thomas Myers mapped what he called the superficial back line, a fascial continuity that runs from the soles of your feet, up the back of your legs, along the erector spinae of your spine, over the skull, and down to the ridge above your eyebrows. His work in the early 2000s gave manual therapists a new way to understand why releasing one area changed tension patterns in distant regions. The fascial lines weren't metaphors. They were dissectable, traceable, real. But Myers' map was broad. The specific connection between thoracic spine position and midface suspension required finer dissection work. That came from Dr. Carla Stecco and her team at the University of Padua, who spent years in anatomy theaters documenting the layered fascial architecture of the neck and face. What Stecco's dissections revealed was that the investing layer of the deep cervical fascia, the tissue that wraps the muscles of the posterior neck, is continuous with the SMAS of the face. Not attached to it, continuous with it. The same sheet. Different names for different regions of one uninterrupted structure. That continuity is the mechanism, and it changes how you should think about every postural habit you carry. For most of human history, the thoracic spine was held in moderate extension. Not ramrod straight, that's a military invention, but extended enough that the posterior fascial envelope maintained its resting length. Humans who spent their days walking, carrying, reaching overhead, grinding grain, their upper backs were mobile. The fascia along the posterior chain was supple because it moved through its full range daily. Their faces aged too, of course. Sun, wind, nutrition, genetics, all of those matter. But the specific pattern of midface descent that we see so commonly now, that inferior migration of the cheekbone complex and the deepening of the nasolabial fold, that pattern correlates with something their bodies rarely experienced: sustained thoracic flexion. The kind that comes from decades of sitting, from screens held below eye level, from steering wheels and desks and couches that curve the upper back forward hour after hour, year after year. That forward curve, thoracic kyphosis, shortens the posterior fascial chain. The investing fascia of the neck tightens. In the SMAS, continuous with that fascia, receives a sustained downward pull from behind. This is the part that unsettles me, because it means the face you see in the mirror is not just aging. It is being pulled, actively, by a structure most people never think about, in a region most people never connect to their appearance. Let me take it deeper into this. Think of the relationship between your upper back and your face the way you'd think about a parent holding a child's hand at a crosswalk. The parent is strong, stable, upright. The child is light, mobile, responsive. When the parent stands tall, the child moves freely, looks around, shifts weight, expresses themselves without constraint. The connection is there, but it doesn't restrict. Now picture that parent bending forward, curling down. The hand still holds the child's, but the angle has changed. The child is pulled, not violently, not dramatically, just pulled slightly off balance, tilted, restricted. The child's posture changes because the parent's posture changed. The connection that was neutral became a force. That analogy works up to a point, but here's where it breaks, and the breaking matters. A parent can let go, the fascia cannot. There is no release of grip. There is no moment where the SMAS disconnects from the deep cervical fascia and says, I'll manage on my own. The connection is structural, permanent, architectural, which means the pull doesn't stop when you go to sleep. It doesn't stop when you lie down. It modifies slightly when position changes, but the shortened resting length of the posterior fascia, the adaptation to years of flexion, persists even when you're horizontal. That persistence is what separates this from a simple posture correction. Sitting up straighter for 5 minutes doesn't undo a fascial adaptation that took 15 years to develop. The tissue has remodeled. The collagen fibers have reorganized along shortened lines. The resting length has physically changed. Which brings me to what I see in practice week after week that confirms this is not theory. When someone spends 2 focused minutes releasing the thoracic extensors, the muscles that run alongside the spine between the shoulder blades, something visible happens to their face within the same session. The nasolabial folds soften. The cheekbones appear slightly higher. The under eye area looks less compressed. These are not dramatic changes. I want to be precise about that. They are subtle. Millimeters, but they are consistent, and they are visible to people who didn't know what was being done. Partners notice, colleagues mention it. Did you sleep well last night? Is a comment I hear reported frequently. Not your face looks different, because the change is too subtle for that language, but something registers. Something in the mid-face region reads as more rested, more lifted, more like the person's face 5 or 8 years ago. I've observed this pattern in enough cases that I stopped considering it coincidental around the 3rd year. Now let me take you to the deepest layer of this mechanism, because what I've described so far is the what and the how. The why involves vectors, directional forces, and it involves time in a way that should make every person over 40 pay close attention. The pull that thoracic kyphosis exerts on the SMAS is not random. It is specifically inferior and posterior, downward and backward. That vector targets the midface because the midface is the region of the face with the least bony support. Your forehead is backed by the frontal bone. Your jaw is the mandible, dense, structural, load-bearing. But the midface sits over the maxilla in the zygomatic bones with relatively thin bony architecture beneath it. The cheekbone prominence, the nasolabial region, the infraorbital area, these structures depend heavily on soft tissue suspension, on the SMAS, on the very layer that is continuous with the fascia being shortened by your upper back. Think of it as a building. The foundation, the thoracic spine, has shifted, not collapsed, shifted a few degrees forward. The walls, the cervical fascia, have adapted to the new foundation angle. In the facade, the midface shows the consequence. Cracks don't appear in the foundation, they appear in the facade. That's where the cosmetic change becomes visible, even though the structural cause is 2 feet lower and entirely posterior. But buildings and bodies differ in one critical respect, and this is where the analogy fails productively. A building's facade cannot heal. Tissue can. Fascia is living architecture. It remodels in response to sustained input. The same plasticity that allowed it to shorten over years allows it to lengthen again if the input changes. That is the opening. That is where 2 minutes becomes meaningful. I need to back up for a second before I give you the release, because there's a prerequisite that changes whether this works or not. The thoracic extensors, the erector spinae group in the upper back, are almost certainly hypertonic in your body right now. Overactive, locked short. They've been holding your spine in its flexed position for so long that they've forgotten their full range. Releasing them is not about stretching. Stretching a hypertonic muscle often makes it contract harder. The release requires sustained pressure that triggers the Golgi tendon reflex, the neurological mechanism that tells a muscle to let go. Here's the protocol. Treat it as a self-experiment. Get a foam roller or a firmly rolled towel. Lie on your back with the roller positioned horizontally across your upper back, just below the shoulder blades. Bend your knees, feet flat on the floor. Let your arms cross over your chest or rest at your sides, whichever feels less darted. Do not roll. This is not a rolling exercise. Position the roller at the level of the tightness and stay there. Let gravity do the work. Your body weight pressing into the roller creates the sustained pressure. 30 seconds at this position. Breathe normally. Holding your breath signals your nervous system to dard, which defeats the purpose. After 30 seconds, move the roller 1 inch higher. Same position, same duration. 30 seconds of sustained pressure without rolling. Then 1 more inch higher to the level between the shoulder blades. 30 seconds there. That is 90 seconds. For the final 30 seconds, return to the position that felt most restricted, the spot where your body resisted the most, and stay there. Breathe into the resistance. Let the Golgi tendon reflex do what it was designed to do. The muscle will release. It may take 15 seconds. It may take the full 30. But the neurological reflex is involuntary. It will fire if the pressure is sustained long enough. 2 minutes total, 4 positions. Sustained pressure, not movement. After the release, stand up slowly. Walk to a mirror. Look at your face before you touch it, before you manipulate anything. Notice the nasolabial folds. Notice the cheekbone area. Notice the under eye region. Take a photograph if you want a record. Then do this again tomorrow and the day after for 14 consecutive days. The instruction is simple because the mechanism does the work. The roller applies pressure. The pressure triggers the reflex. The reflex releases the muscle. The release slackens the fascial chain. The slackened chain reduces the inferior pull on the SMAS. The SMAS allows the midface to return toward its suspended position. Each step in that sequence is a documented physiological response. None of it requires belief. It requires pressure, time, and consistency. Here is what to track during your 14 days. Each morning, before the release, look at your face in the same lighting, same angle, same distance from the mirror. Photograph it if precision matters to you. After the release, photograph again. By day 5 or 6, the before and after difference within a single session should become visible to your own eye. By day 14, the resting position, the before photograph, should begin to shift. The baseline moves, not dramatically, but measurably. If you want to go further, add one element. After the thoracic release, spend 30 seconds with your chin gently tucked, not forced down, just drawing slightly back, while placing 2 fingers lightly on the tissue just in front of your ears. That tissue is the parotid fascia, continuous with the SMAS. Feel its tension before and after the thoracic release. Over the 14 days, you will feel that tissue soften. That softening is the reduced pull from below. That is the mechanism expressing itself in a location you can touch. The ancestral body did this release without thinking about it. Every time a human reached overhead to pick fruit, pulled a branch, carried a load on their back, the thoracic extensors moved through their range and returned to resting length. The fascia stayed supple because it was never allowed to shorten permanently. The midface stayed suspended because the pull never accumulated. Modern posture removed that daily reset. 2 minutes on a foam roller puts it back. I've spent years watching this connection play out across different bodies, different ages, different histories of postural adaptation. The consistency of the response is what convinced me this isn't marginal. The fascia doesn't care about your skincare routine. It doesn't respond to topical application. It responds to mechanical input, sustained, specific, repeated. 14 days, 2 minutes each morning, a foam roller or a rolled towel. Track what changes in your face and in the tension you feel at the base of your skull. If nothing shifts after 14 days of consistent practice, the mechanism didn't apply to your pattern. That's a real possibility. Not every face descends primarily through this pathway. But if something does shift, if the nasolabial folds soften, if the cheekbone area lifts, if the under-eye compression eases, then you have identified the structural origin of a change you were probably attributing to age alone. The test costs nothing. The equipment is a rolled towel. The time is 2 minutes. Something quiet was happening to your face. Now you know where it started. 14 days. See what moves.